Hi guys, it's Mmmm here, and this is just a short video that I made. I wanted to talk about what I thought about the new Rings of Fire series that is on Amazon that we've all been waiting for. Let's get to it. Okay, this Rings of Fire show, they premiered episodes 1 and 2. And thank you, CJ, for that intro. I love that intro. I figured I'd make a short video about what I thought about the Rings of Fire. I just watched it. Um, and I'm not going to be doing a lot of streaming today, just this one thing, because I want to go to the beach. It is Labor Day weekend. Want to enjoy myself. Hope you guys are well out there. So I did watch it. It's called The Shadow of the Past. And the first thing I want to say is that the actors are fantastic. These actors are great. And, I think they're doing their role so nicely. Um, but one of the things that I noticed was just in some of the cases that I felt that the costumes didn't look polished enough. And I would have liked to have seen somewhat more polished and perhaps less soiled garments that many of the actors were wearing, but that's okay. 15 minutes into this series, we see a troll, and it seems like it was easily defeated by Glad, who I'm calling a shortened name for her. But her companion doesn't want to go down the road of fighting, and they all kind of seem like they don't want to necessarily deal with this issue of there being baddies out there. So we have those antlers people who are hunters, and gee, if you go hunting with something like that on you, maybe that's their version of safety orange. I don't know, but you certainly can't be incognito. Nevertheless, we finally see these Harfoots, and I like Lonnie Henry. I liked him as chef, so he's good in it. Everybody who's acting in this, I think they did a fine job with it. This video is not a comparison of whether or not it's accurate to Tolkien's vision, so I should just mention that. I am not a Tolkien scholar. I'm not going to pretend to be a Tolkien scholar. Yes, I love Lord of the Rings. And yes, they're kind of making this sound like this is going to be like Lord of the Rings. Um, but the Harfoot's little houses look like water discharge pipes to me. But it was their imagination, and I think that they're trying to bring this alive. But we do see another creature. We see creatures there, and Elrond. I thought that the elves were supposed to look young forever, but I guess not. He kind of looks a little older, which is fine. And Linden, which I guess is the place where the elves live. It looks okay. It's not horrible, but at some point I started to realize that I think that this particular series could have been better with more than just the material, with a little bit more imagination in what they were doing. So, um, some of the scenes in where the elves live looks dirty, leaves on the floor, and I just think it would be so much more polished and sparkling for them. But that's okay. Anyway, I guess there's a lot of tattered and torn pieces of clothing that I guess adds to the aesthetic of what they wanted for this world, of what they wanted for this show. They want it to be, as if the holes will just remain. So anyway, there is a scene between Gladriel and Elrond, where after the ceremony, where they kind of have to lay down their arms. It's so beautiful. They're in the forest, and I thought that was a lovely scene. Um, Even though she kind of snickers towards him, if you look, you can catch she goes like in her face, and something's wrong. But yeah, there's something to talk about, and she wants to tell him, but it doesn't seem like Elrond is on board, or is he? Um, she says he hasn't seen what she has. I think he's seen a lot of stuff too. So we end up with Cordova, who's playing the elf Arendir, and I think he looks fantastic in the series. And this is exactly what I was talking about in regards to the marketing of this character. He looks a lot better. He looks pretty good. and we get to see where he's with his sweetheart. And of course, there's something terrible. And this is a spoiler. This is a spoiler video. That I was going to say. There are spoilers, so I apologize about that. And I should have said that there are spoilers here. Yes. It turns out that unfortunately, um, he's going to have to be parted from the woman he loves. So I did just want to say that, unfortunately, being parted from the woman that he loves, after being there for what they said was 79 years, seems quite cruel and tragic. And um, I felt bad for him. I actually found this part of the story quite interesting. You know that you thought that you were going to be able to stay with this person you love, and now it's going to be leaving you. So that seems a little romantic. And in episode one, thank God they made these episodes kind of nice and long. 55 minutes. There's this lovely singing scene where the elves are singing, and I thought this was glorious looking. I thought this was one of the prettiest looking things I've ever seen, and most spiritual sounding. But unfortunately, sort of like this comet starts to fly over everybody, and Gladriel either dives into the water or something happens. She ends up in the water. And she's, out there in the middle of the ocean, and she's like, F it, I'm just gonna swim it out. I'll swim it out, because elves, I guess, can just go ahead and do these miraculous things. So as we go into episode two, um, it's called Adrift, but it should be called, it's kind of like it's raining a comet and there's a man inside, some random dude is called the Stranger, lands in a comet, and it's not Starman. I loved Starman. I'm fine with another Starman. But this poor little Harfoot finds him, and their friend is like, why are you doing this? And I'm thinking, well, it is a man who just came from the sky. Maybe she is enjoying that. She's doing it because it's a guy and she wants to help him out. And, I feel like the writers put this fantasy in of some guy popping in this way. Um, and, we kind of get another funny part of it too, in a sense, when we keep seeing Cordoza, who plays one of the elves, still looking very good. Um, and so does Araguin. I know I'm saying that badly. Looks nice. And we see Celebrimbor, the actor who plays him, Charles Edward, looks amazing, even though he has short hair. And his costume in particular, it's like a velvety blue. I thought he looked great in that. He looks like a twin of Elrond's. Um, Nevertheless, he says, let's get down to business. We have to make magical things, and we need a forge that can do that. And I did kind of like the term, and I don't know whether this is in the book, but as hot as a dragon's tongue and as pure as starlight. So that kind of sounds nice, right? And so 15 minutes in, they seek out the dwarves, and the elves are in this valley that is also really beautiful, where the dwarf world is. And the dwarf world, when you go in there, is lovely inside. And the dwarf costumes look amazing. I felt better than the marketing campaign we saw. Um, and even when Elrond takes off his sort of cloak, underneath his costume looks better. So that's interesting. Meanwhile, Nori gets up close and personal with the stranger, and Galadriel ends up she ends up on the raft of Jericho with a bunch of other survivors in the middle of the ocean, and a sea monster is coming. Now, why did they not have Galadriel in the water with like that scene with the bones of the water monster sticking out behind her? Why didn't they do that? That would have been so fascinating. Finally, she ends up in a raft with Charlie Vickers, who plays Hallbrand, and he is just absolutely gorgeous and dreamy, and it is really nice to see those two together. Anyway, when Elrond is having dinner with the Prince Dwarf and his wife, that living room is spectacular. She looks spectacular. The walls are made of gold. It looks very opulent. I was glad that it looked more opulent than what we saw in the trailers. Anyway, Arendor, who is the elf who plays the elf who's in love with the maiden, the mom who's kind of like a MILF, and he discovers these burrows and tunnels. And unfortunately, that is something that is really dangerous. And the woman he's in love with, her son Theo, discovers a special object that is also very bad that he's using. Anyway, um, we end up in a situation where Theo's mother and the entire village are leaving because things are so dangerous now with that orc that comes in, and then um, Gladriel and this guy she's with are found by another ship. So, what is my thoughts on this? I think that if you know absolutely nothing about Lord of the Rings, and there are a lot of people who know absolutely nothing about this series, although they keep telling you to buy the book in the corner when you pause on Amazon, of course. Um, they're going to love this story. It looks like a fantasy, although I'm not quite sure whether they've hit everything on the mark. Do I want to watch the next episode? Yeah, I do want to see episode 3. And I want to see where this goes. But I have to be honest with you, I can't go ahead and say that this is the same as any of the Lord of Rings IP information. And I'm guessing from those who will be reviewing this and are Tolkien experts or Tolkien scholars, or just have read every single book and they know that it's not authentic. Yeah, I can see how they might have different opinions about this series. But there were certain things that could have been done better. The costumes did look like it was from an off-Broadway version of Shakespeare, but that's what they decided to go with. After all, money's no object in this particular production, right? So, we'll see how it progresses, but for the most part, I guess I'd give it around a 6 out of a 10. Um, it wasn't as imaginative as I hoped it would have been, even though they kind of make it sound mystical and sort of otherworldly. I didn't quite get what I was hoping for from that. But the actors, I felt like the actors did a wonderful job. These guys believe in the show and they are, acting to the best of their ability. I don't feel like the actors have let us down in any way. Now, in regards to how the show is going to be overall, I've got to see the whole show and make a determination from it. But so far, I'm going to keep watching it and see how it goes. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen for sure, but I can see for you guys who are expecting more accuracy towards the Tolkien works, I don't know if this is what you'd be hoping for. So anyway, I hope you guys are well out there. Thank you for watching my short video on my thoughts of episodes 1 and 2 of The Rings of Power. I hope everybody's great out there. I hope everybody feels okay and is enjoying the rest of this Labor Day weekend. And remember, guys, no matter where you are out there in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.